rise. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for the sick, the handicapped, military personnel, and the recently departed members of our community. Roll call.
Mr. Henderson?
Here.
Mr. Petroselli? Here. Mr. Colosimo? Here. Mr. Gallarducci?
Here.
Mr. Verducci? Here. Mr. Krzyzewski?
Here.
Ms. Cimaroli? Here. Mayor Copeland? Here. Solicitor McDermott?
Here.
Engineer Brett?
Here.
I'm Joe Cowher. Chief King?
Here.
Chief Costain?
Here.
And Chief Miller?
Here. Okay, just like to put on record that we did have an executive session prior to the beginning of tonight's council meeting. Or just a personnel matter. Is there any visitors?
Yeah.
Dale. Dale Livingston.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I stand here as a concerned citizen with two questions and a request. Before I get to my questions, please let me frame my concerns. Almost 10 days ago, in a small town, East Palestine, Ohio, there was a train derailment involving hazardous materials. Understanding that when these things happen, they happen quickly. It quickly overwhelms local responders, local communities, that type of thing. Aid comes from outside the county, the state, the feds. We all know that there's hazardous materials rolling down the rails here within 1,000 feet of where we sit and stand. Imagine a derailment here, okay? It impacts, even if it's just across the border in South Fayette, it's going to impact us, Scott, Collier, the surrounding towns. So, my question is, first question is, the train derailments here in Bridgeville or within proximity, how prepared is the borough prepared to react to the situation? And the second question is how prepared is Allegheny County Emergency Management prepared to react and adjust to the situation?
First part, Dale, I would like to think that we're ahead of a lot of communities. We put a lot of effort into the safety committee and meeting with, Mike's a part of that. I think you're actually a part of it, right? You have been anyway. Yeah, and there's a lot of organizations that have communicated, about things like this. Specifically a train derailment, I don't know. I mean, and you can only hope and pray that the things that we have in place in terms of communication and lodging and things like that, would be effective. We could probably talk a little bit more about that from some of the folks that are involved in those meetings. But as far as the county goes, I don't know the answer to that, and it's a valid question. I think I, like probably everyone up here, watched what was going on over there and thought, wow, thank God I wasn't here. And the next thing you know, your cloud goes up and you're like, oh, it might be here, So, valid questions. And I don't know, Chief or Mike, I know you guys have been part of, Mike's part of the emergency management response.
Speaking from what I can remember, I know we've had incidents where we've had, over the years, a few cars get struck by trains. Latest was probably 4 years ago. It's just prior to COVID. It happened right up here at Murray Avenue. It wasn't bad, though. The truck didn't get clipped that bad. Years ago, we had a lady get struck, car got struck down here, railroad by the caboose. Again, not horrible, but I think that was the reason why they put the crossing arms in, if I remember. The train did not derail in either of those situations. But if we go back, Noah's chief had to be 13 years ago. We did have a derailment. It started up here at Murray Avenue, is where it first jumped the track. Train was heading towards South Fayette, somehow made it across Chartier Street Bridge before totally coming off the tracks in South Fayette and for a total derailment. Memory serves me correct, I'm gonna say 2/3 of the train was off the tracks, no return. I don't remember what it was hauling at the time, obviously nothing serious. But, you know, we can do what we can do at that point. I believe the NTSB comes in after that to investigate it. That's what I can remember in recent memory. I think Babe Ramus handled a train derailment many years ago, and we know that because we have an old picture of it, and it was somewhere down near Holy Child. So, as far as my training goes on that, what we were taught in the academy early on is if you see some sort of a cloud forming, they want you to get far enough away from the scene that you can cover it with your thumb. You know, because we don't have the equipment to go near that, so that would be where.
And I mean, the thing is, you know, the big thing there in East Palestine was, you know, they had to evacuate.
Right.
And, you know, how fast does that happen?
Well, I mean, how are we gonna even be alerted to evacuate if it comes down to that, right?
Right.
I mean,
Communication's a part of that, but.
you used to hear the fire alarm going off, or fire siren going off, and it was like, oh, what's that?
Well, in recent history, when we had the meth lab, would have been almost, it was February of 2010, as a matter of fact. We had that issue down on Hickman Street. We were ordered by the county, once the green team and hazmat arrived, to evacuate a certain area of the four-way intersection from Washington Avenue and Hickman Street. And that was a matter of going door to door. Now, okay, it was a meth lab. It wasn't like this was an industrial-sized meth lab. You know, it was big enough to create a few ounces, but the concern was there for dangerous gases. Even though me and another officer had already been room to room in the house, you know, we had to go door to door, utilize other departments, and ask people to evacuate the apartment buildings and the nearby businesses. In a situation like this, again, you know, you gotta use your head, and if you can see visible clouds forming or gases here coming out of a ripped open train, we're not gonna get that close, but at least we have technology now through social media that can notify Joe and put a text alert out. You know, there are other ways to do that until people get there that have the proper protection to go door to door, you know.
Mike, there's a chain of communication, right?
Yeah, so, you know, as far as the initial, when it first, if an event like that would happen, the first responders would be on site to evaluate the situation. You know, there are steps in communication for evacuations. The problem with something like the magnitude of the, like, we have, hey, there's a flooding, we have places where they can go. Depending on how a, you know, train derailment, you might be talking about the whole town. You know?
Yeah, if it is a 1 mile evacuation.
Yeah, we're 1 square mile, and you're talking about having Allegheny County come in and basically step in over our command, I would think, at that point.
Probably state level.
Or state level.
Yeah, it's gonna be a multi-jurisdictional command system that's set up.
God forbid if ever, you know, we had an accident of that magnitude, you know, we would not be taking the lead on something like that.
So, this leads me to my request. I kindly ask that the council president and the council send a letter to Allegheny County requesting a discussion exercise involving Bridgeville and the surrounding areas. Scott, Collier, that type of thing. You know, it's one of those things, and an exercise like that is relatively easy to put together, but it's still going to take some time. And again, my point for all of this is thinking about planning and prevention. You know, I'm not here to put anybody on the spot, but it's just to get people thinking, because I'm not the only one that's asking this question. You know, what happens if, especially after the train derailment in Ohio, so.
Yep, you had a comment?
I just want to say years ago, and I'm sure they still do train, the fire department held a mock disaster drill. I was on council then, and I was a victim. It was that Ranger gas, Syrian gas, whatever it was. It was something, and it was kind of neat, you know, how everybody was training and, you know, down there by the library, the caboose it was at the time. And they pretty much had their stuff together. And then Allegheny County stepped in and gave, were you there for that one? Yeah, I thought you were. That was kind of interesting that they were training for it, just something like that.
As far as the fire department goes, I mean, initially, we respond, you see what the train's placarded as, you know, if there's anything gaseous or liquid coming out, and at that point, it's, you know, the hazmat team's gonna have to come down and, you know, like you said, it needs evacuation, depending on the weather, it could be, you know, this side of town, that side of town, the whole time, you know, what have you, so, but after that derailment happened, we've had, you know, discussions regarding the situation that, yeah, we need to be better prepared, so, I'm speaking on behalf of Larry, who's not here, but, the chief, but, I know that brought up, a meeting that we had, that they're going to, see what they can do to get some kind of plan, because we try to plan for any kind of disaster that we have, but there's a lot of hazardous stuff that roll through the rails, you know, with, from the wells and everything else, the gas wells, and who knows what else is out there. But, you know, you have to be as prepared as you can be, but in a situation like that, you can only do so much initially, and clear the area, secure it, make sure everybody's safe, and then, you know, the professionals have to come in and mitigate it.
The one in Ohio, or in Beaver County, that was primarily chemicals, like PDC chemicals, correct?
Yeah.
In this line here, the one that goes, the one we're all concerned about, because I don't think this one here is a big issue, the one that creeps through town, but, that one's more gas, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mainly
And it's
gas,
pretty much 100%, that's what you're,
as far as we know.
yeah, okay. So at least you would know what we're, chances, what we're faced with.
It wasn't long ago, there was some kind of emission let off over the plant in Collier, and before we knew it, county was involved, and they got involved very quickly. So I think we have an initial response, but typically you're gonna get overtaken by bigger government, you know, so, which is good, they have the resources to do it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dale, for getting us thinking, appreciate it.
You're welcome, thank you.
That's the worst fear of shit.
Uh, 2022 Bridgeville Borough year-end report.
I can go over it. Yeah, Mike. Uniquely this year, we put a year-end report to just summarize the activity that was made last year. And I have handouts over on the table. I'd like to just maybe take 10 minutes to go over it real quick, because I think we kind of get lost of what we did last year. And we kind of go month by month, and when you look at big picture, there was a lot accomplished for a small town our size. And it takes a team, so I really appreciate the council's efforts and mayor and staff really making things better for the community. So 2022 has brought about the following highlights: some public works projects. There was a number of streets paved last year, including Alice Drive, Nancy Drive, Crestview, Grandview Avenue, portions of Missouri Avenue, Bluff Street, and there was a couple roads that were completed in-house by the Public Works Department. The Chartier Street widening was completed and hopefully will be opened this year. The first bill for that's actually on the bill list, so it's nice to start putting that project to bed. The project on Chartier Street, the borough has a contribution of $788,000 to the projects down there. The work alone is $4.5 million, and the borough is putting in a considerable amount of money. $300,000 of that is from the county grant. Sewer maintenance, we cleaned, televised, and inspected over 40,000 linear feet of sanitary sewers. There was 2 landslides we started dealing with last year, and those 2 projects combined cost $1.2 million. And we're fortunate that of those 2 projects, $1 million of it is being covered by grants. We replaced and upgraded multiple catch basins on Darby Way and Station Street, and we completed some facade improvements to the borough building. Flood mitigation continues to stay at the forefront. We were able to acquire 6 flood-prone properties and demolish them on Baldwin and Margaret Streets through a FEMA flood mitigation program. This will aim to reduce future losses and risk moving forward. And we had the unique ability to assist many of those residents to find housing and to help them with that transition. It was a task. Public Works crews, we become very proactive and keep the creek at the forefront. We remove thousands of tons of sediment from the back channel and McLaughlin Run Creek under approved DEP permits, and I think that's doing a lot to keep the flooding at a minimum. It is paying off. We added sanitary sewer backflow preventers to 18 flood-prone properties again on McLaughlin Run Road. That was phase 5 of what potentially looks like a 6-phase project. Tonight we'll take action on phase 6. Overall, we've probably put in over 100, 120 of these backflow preventers. It's a substantial investment, but it's reducing overflows into people's basements. We repaired a large section of eroded creek bank and restored multiple storm sewer outfalls. Noticeable one was at McLaughlin Run Park. The whole front of the park was washed out in 2018, and we completed that repair last year. And then in line with creek maintenance, we purchased a new backhoe last year that's helping us to maintain the trash rack, and basically it has grapple equipment on the front and back that helps us grab logs and stuff from the creek to stay in front of these issues. Parks and recreation improvements. Partnering with Public Art Bridgeville, we hosted the first year of the outdoor sculpture exhibition, and that was successful enough that year 2 has already been outlaid and is in the works, and we approved that last month. After the hiatus caused by the pandemic, the Day on the Avenue was brought back and was successful. Again, with stream bank restoration, we restored a large section of stream bank that eroded a large portion of the road within Charters Park that's been there for many years. That was a large project. It cost $192,000, and it enabled the park to be put back to where it should be. We repaved all the roads and parking lots within Charters Park, coupled with some improvements that's already under contract for this year, including lighting upgrades and playground improvements. That puts a park comparable to what our citizens are expecting from recreational facilities. In partnership with the Bridgeville Library and the Rotary Club, we created a story walk within Charters Park along the fitness trail. And that gets changed out monthly with different kids' storybooks, and it's been a nice asset. We installed security cameras at all parks now, and it's paid for itself, catching vandals on a couple scenarios now. And then lastly, in partnership with the Pittsburgh Classic Movie Club, we held a summer movie series that was free to the public at Quitzcold Park, and that's on the agenda again for tonight for 2023. Some planning and code enforcement initiatives that are worth noting is that with community input, we initiated the planning studies, and work is now underway to update the borough's comprehensive plan. This is really our blueprint for our next 15 years. Our current plan is from 2005 and is now being updated by planning consultants from Mackin Engineering. This project's estimated to cost $75,000, and we're fortunate to get a grant from the Commonwealth that's paying for half of that. In line with planning, keeping planning at the forefront, again funded by an active Allegheny program grant, we were able to draft, complete, and adopt an active transportation plan. Moving into 23, you're seeing quarterly on the Planning Commission agendas, trying to keep this moving it as an implementation phase. And out of the January discussions of all the honeydew projects within that project, that planning project, is some planning recommendations, and one of those recommendations is on the agenda for tonight. So we want to keep these plans active community plans, not just documents that go on a bookshelf and die. So it is working. We demolished 3 blighted homes that were condemned on Baldwin Street, Barn Hill Road, and Presley Road. All that was funded by 2 demolition grants. That wasn't tax dollars. Code enforcement investigated and issued 247 property maintenance and zoning violation notices, and issued 101 building and zoning permits. Some public safety initiatives that are notable, fully funded by grants. The chief was able to purchase body cameras for our police officers. That was able to also create and implement a policy for that program, and that should be put into use this year. We had 1 full-time officer retire. We hired a full-time officer, and we had a promotion within the police department that we had a nice ceremony within a council meeting. We replaced a police cruiser. We're getting into a nice rotation now where the fleet is fairly new and not keeping them as long as we were, so that rotation has been updated. The police department responded to 6,979 requests for service, completed 4,082 business checks, patrolled over 41,000 miles within the borough, made 155 criminal arrests, and issued 833 traffic citations. The Bridgeville Fire Department responded to 352 emergencies and had an average response time from dispatch, so that's when the volunteer is in bed, to get in the truck at your house within 7 minutes, and that's very admirable for a volunteer agency. Southbridge EMS responded to 920 calls for service within the borough. Some general government administration accomplishments. We secured $1.6 million in grant funding for multiple projects. Strict financial management ended the year with a surplus that is being allocated to capital purchases and building a budgetary reserve. And then last year, we also created a new flood fund. Basically, we're putting money aside for the next big flood, so it don't take the fund balance down and money gets put away for that, so that it don't rob us of capital projects when we have to do that abatement work. We adopted a 2023 budget, a balanced spending plan without a tax increase. In partnership with officials from South Fayette and Collier Township, we successfully defeated PennDOT's plan to toll the I-79 Bridgeville interchange and its bridges. The borough was recognized by the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs for our 22 budget report, and we received the President's Award from the COG for maintaining sustainable operations during the pandemic. We updated audio and visual equipment within council chambers to improve virtual meeting capabilities. We also sponsored a household hazardous waste electronic recycling event that collected over 14,000 pounds of electronics, and that was from 149 citizens participating that day. I'm asking for that to continue, and that's on the agenda for tonight as well. What's to come for 2023, you want to know. I think 22 is a springboard to a lot of successes that we could take this and duplicate the successes. Like I alluded to, there's a lot of improvements planned for parks this year, including new playgrounds at Chartiers, Cook, and McLaughlin Run Parks, new lighting within Chartiers Park. Renovations to Triangle Park are expected to start next month. We have the completion of the 2 landslides that have been going on for a while. The comprehensive plan should be completed. There's a number of public safety and public works equipment that's already within the budget and is being implemented. I thought that was someone on the Zoom call. Okay, and then lastly, there's considerable investments still being dedicated now that we're back into the consent orders, staying in front of operation and maintenance of the sewer systems that it's needed. So I thank everyone. We all played a role into this. For a little town, we did a lot last year, and I'm grateful for everything. So I just wanted to highlight this. So I have this here so that we're talking to citizens who want to know what's going on with Bridgeville. This is something nice we're sharing and promoting. So that's the 22 year-end report.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay,
Very well, very well done. Appreciate that.
we move on the right direction. We always do. We do more. Continue to do it. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a proclamation to issue this evening. You all know Michael Connolly, and Michael's been the head of our parking authority board for quite some time. And Mike, proclamation for you. Are you online, Mike? Can you hear me?
He's muted.
He's muted, okay. We trust that he's there, all right. So indulge me, I'm going to read this into the, there we go, okay.
That's Phil.
Phil, isn't it?
That's Phil.
Okay. This is a proclamation of the Bridgeville Borough Council and Mayor recognizing Michael Connolly's service to the citizens of Bridgeville. Whereas Michael Connolly is a successful entrepreneur who operated McBee Autosport for over 4 decades at locations on Bridgeville's Baldwin Street and Washington Avenue. And whereas Mr. Connolly represented the Bridgeville business community as an appointed member of the Bridgeville Parking Authority Board while serving a long tenure as its chairman. And whereas the job as Parking Authority Board members is at times a thankless job that has to make hard decisions that is for the best interest of the entire community, its citizens, businesses, owners, and visitors alike. And whereas Mr. Connolly's leadership of the Bridgeville Parking Authority enabled many noteworthy accomplishments, including the extensive renovations to parking lots 1, 4, and 5, He led efforts that added new technology for business patrons to use, making it easier for them to park, such as pay kiosks and mobile parking applications, and upgraded the equipment needed to streamline parking enforcement. And whereas, having a keen eye to detail, Mr. Connolly ensured that the Bridgeville Borough public parking lots are always clean, welcoming, and safe. Therefore, be it proclaimed by the Bridgeville Borough Council and Mayor that on behalf of an appreciative community, we give thanks to Michael Connolly for his many years of dedicated service to Bridgeville, and directs that the title of honorary board member to the Bridgeville Borough Parking Authority Board of Directors be bestowed upon him. This is approved in testimony whereof we, the undersigned members of the Borough Council and Mayor, hereunto set our hands and cause the seal of Bridgeville, the Borough of Bridgeville be affixed this 13th day of February 2023. Michael, thank you so much for all your years of service to us. We greatly appreciate it. And if you have any words, we'd welcome them.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
You're quite welcome, Mike. We hope you're well. Again, appreciate all you've done for us. We'll make sure you get a nice copy of that, Mike. All right.
Yeah,
Actually, I'm looking at the public comment earlier, didn't I? Not out of order. Okay. Well, we'll get into the regular order of business then. All right. I need a motion to approve the January 9th, 2023 regular meeting minutes as submitted. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Opposed? And motion carries. Need a motion to approve the February 2023 bill list. I'll move. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the February 17th, 24th, March 3rd, and 10th payrolls.
second.
All in favor? Opposed? And motion carries. I need a motion to authorize the advertisement and public display of ordinance number 1029, an ordinance of the Borough of Bridgeville, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, amending the Borough of Bridgeville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 15, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Part 4, General Parking Regulations 15-402, parking prohibited at all times in certain locations, specifically repealing certain prior parking prohibited locations and establishing updated parking prohibited locations on Bank Street, Eisner Avenue, and Station Street. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? And motion carries. I need a motion to authorize the advertisement and public display of ordinance number 1030, an ordinance of the Borough of Bridgeville, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, adopting the 2018 edition of the ICC International Property Maintenance Code, with such revisions and additions as noted herein, regulating and governing the conditions and maintenance of all property, buildings, and structures, providing the standards for supply of utilities and facilities and other physical things and conditions essential to ensure that structures are safe, sanitary, and fit for occupation and use, providing for the condemnation of buildings and structures unfit for human occupancy and use for the demolition of such structures in the borough, and providing for the issuance of permits and collections of fees therefore, providing for administration and enforcement, and providing for appeals from adverse decisions, and providing for penalties for violation thereof. We discussed this in our session, right?
If I may ask you, this is all external, or is that internal as well?
The code does both, but we typically only enforce exterior. We don't have regular inspection program. However, if we did receive complaints for the interior, they would be acted on by this code.
Residents versus every structure?
Yes, sir.
Because this was on years ago, and where a lot of,
Your current code allows me to enforce the standards for inside a home. We do that based on complaints. We don't do that off a regular inspection program. That wouldn't change under this ordinance.
thank you.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Need a motion to adopt resolution number 2023-1, a resolution of the Borough of Bridgeville, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, setting the police pension fund contributions to fund the shortfall in the police pension fund evidenced by an independent actuarial study and as permitted by previous ordinances and the police collective bargaining agreement.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Could I explain?
Yep.
There's no change in operation for the rates. This memorializes the rates that got put in effect last year for the remainder of 2022 and for 2023. We have our pension audit going on right now that does every 4-year snapshot. The pension auditor is requesting that every year we do by resolution the rates. And so this will memorialize 2023.
Okay, motion has been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to adopt resolution number 2023-2, a resolution of the Borough of Bridgeville, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for the rehabilitation of Cook School Park Basketball Court and Chartiers Park Picnic Shelter #1 project.
I so move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, just, I apologize.
No worries.
There's a lot here tonight.
Yeah.
This grant application was approved to be submitted last year. The DCNR had federal recovery money, but they didn't award any projects really in this area. We're resubmitting that same application. So this is a resubmission of the application from last year.
Appreciate that, Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. I need a motion to ratify the employment advertisement of the position of Public Works Laborer and Equipment Operator. Note the position will fill an upcoming vacancy created by the foreman's retirement.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to ratify the authorization of the Borough Engineer's declared emergency sanitary sewer repair on Center Street that was completed by Jet Jack Incorporated starting on January 19th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, just aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and that is completed.
Yes, that project turned out to be very extensive. They just completed work last week. It turned out to be $77,000 approximately to make that repair. What initiated as a manhole surcharging and 1 point repair turned out to be 3 extensive point repairs that replaced in excess of 100 feet of pipe in multiple locations. To get a perspective of the size of that project, it's worth, go to the bottom of Cook School Road, look across the opposing hill, like at the end of Bluff Street, and you'll see an area probably the size of a football field and a half going from the end of Bluff Street Extension all the way to Center Street, all covered in straw. So you can see what was already done. It was rather large,
Aging infrastructure.
very aging.
Should we be nervous?
And no, this is a unique scenario where this wasn't your typical sanitary sewer in the street. This is one that was over a hill, in the woods, over a cliff, is what it was. So it wasn't easy, and it was an emergency that needed to be abated expeditiously. We did have a manhole surcharge.
So in this instance where you do have aging infrastructure, is there anything that we can do initially to figure out for the future what's going to happen? I mean,
Yes.
Can you inspect?
Yeah, that's what I alluded to in the 22
Okay.
year-end report was, last year, we got back into the CCTV, that's our
Right.
camera trucks. We kind of got out of that once the first consent order ended. Now that the second consent order came, we got back into that annual rotation. And
Okay.
last year, we did 44,000 feet. It was a massive project. And the footage of that identified what repairs need to be made. We did that application to Elkasand for a grow grant to do the liners, if you remember, to reduce infiltration into the sanitary system. A lot of those identified areas are able to be lined versus point repairs, and that came out of those inspections. And at last month's agenda, council, it was before council, doing year 2 of our CCTV program, and that's going out to bid. And then within this year's scope, the engineer's office is very methodical of whittling away which point of connection neighborhood goes to Alcoasand. So this year, we're doing 2 points of connection to Alcoasand, and hopefully, if bids come in lower, we can add more, and then we'll just keep adding to this. So when I said about investments into the sanitary system, I'm very excited to get back into that O&M plans, because that's how you stay in front of this.
Okay.
Because without this, we're back into these rotations of emergencies over a cliff.
Right.
Because we wouldn't typically find this. This is the one time where consent order, I think, is good.
Okay.
Any other questions? I need a motion to accept the lowest responsible bid received from Preferred Plumbing and Heating Solutions, in the amount of $84,315 for the backwater valve contract phase 6, subject to the contractor obtaining the required insurance certificates, performance bond, payment bond, and review and approval of same by the borough solicitor prior to execution of the agreement by the borough.
Question, have we used this company before?
No.
Any history or concern with that?
We asked for references.
Okay.
Yeah, we recommend the board contingent on their references checking out.
Okay.
My question was,
Go ahead.
my question was, all these contracts, certificates, is that included in this fee, or is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just conditions they have to provide, and if they can't, then we wouldn't recommend to sign it.
So you're giving them, if they don't have them, you're giving them the opportunity to get these.
Yes.
Who's the next place?
Osiris.
Okay.
Do we know what it is?
I think I believe it was 10 grand more.
Yeah, about 10.
All right, there's, need a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'm going to abstain because my dad's house and mine are in this contract, so I'm abstaining.
Noted. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. How many homes are on it this year? I see
11.
Yeah, 11. Need a motion to authorize the execution of change order number 1, final for the backwater valve contract, phase 5, a decrease of $750 based on field measurements of final in-place quantities and work performed.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to authorize the disbursement of $55,093.01 from the Capital Project Fund to A. Morani Contracting Incorporated for partial payment number 2 of the Warner and Union Street Slope Stabilization and Retaining Wall Improvements Project.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. How are we on,
Oh, Union Street, the wall has been completed. However, there's delay on paving. Originally, back in January, the hope was that the road base could be done so that the guardrail could be put in. However, at the time, they shut down the asphalt plants till spring, so this got kicked till spring. But the road's been reopened. There's stop signs posted to allow one lane through. And then the hope is that come back first week of April, the road can be paved, guardrail can be sunk, Union's done. And then in regard to Warner, we were fortunate West Penn Power has relocated their poles and wires. We're just waiting for Verizon and Comcast to come in and relocate, and then they're good to go.
great?
So we're getting there.
Yeah.
It's good.
Okay, need a motion to authorize the disbursement of $300,000 from the Capital Project Fund to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for payment number 1 of the Chartier Street widening project per agreement number 119556 with the Commonwealth. Note that the payment is for work completed and is in the amount of the awarded GEDF grant for this project.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any word when they're going to start up again?
They're saying spring.
It was 65 degrees over there.
The issues aren't the weather and what you see there. But regarding this application here, our GEDF grant has been extended 5 times because this is just how long this project. This is from a 2016 grant. We were fortunate, but the county came in with the state saying, no more extensions. You need to spend this money by June 1st or you lose it. So most of the work was done, so we sent the project report to the county saying, hey, can you at least, if we get a bill, can you close out the grant so that we don't lose the money?
Yeah.
So the state, instead of doing the contract requires us to pay, once the project is completed, a one lump sum payment for $788,000. We asked for that to be amended so that we don't lose this grant. So that's what you see here, is so that the grant can be closed out, and then we would get reimbursed.
Got it. Need a motion to authorize the purchase of custom street name signs and hardware in the amount of $4,525 from Corson Custom Graphics for Phase 1 of the Bridgeville Street Name Sign Replacement Project.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to authorize a borough engineer to prepare plans, specifications, and bid documents and to advertise the 2023 roadway improvement program.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to authorize Wright Garage Doors Incorporated to replace the two garage doors and hardware for the Public Works Garage at a cost not to exceed $9,680.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to authorize the purchase and installation of a vehicle repair lift for within the Public Works Garage, a rotary lift at a price of $6,085.81.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank
Opposed?
you, Joe.
Motion carries. It's gonna be a new garage down there.
Yeah. It's the last thing that's left, so.
Need a motion to authorize the execution of a service agreement with Noble Environmental Specialty Recycling LLC for the July 29, 2023 electronic waste and household hazardous waste recycling collection event.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Last year I got to get rid of one of my in-laws' televisions for them, and it cost me about $150 to get rid of their television. Was it one of the old heavy ones?
So this is a cost to the people that use that service, is that correct?
Both. The way it works is that you pay, and then ironically, the borough pays 50% of that. So what you're getting there is for half. And then we get reimbursed half of what we pay by the DEP, by a recycling grant. So when that TV's $100, it's actually $200, and the borough subsidizes it by $100. Then we get DEP reimbursement, and then this is paid for out of the garbage fund.
Cool. They're always well attended.
Yeah, last year 149 citizens participated.
I need a motion to authorize West Penn Power to install street lights at the locations identified within the adopted active transportation plan and per the January 30th, 2023 recommendation from the Bridgeville Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You want to share with them where the locations are? Do you know offhand?
Yes, the locations are on,
I still have your report.
Murray Avenue and Shady Avenue, Sarah Street and Forbes Avenue intersection, and then Station Street from the Parking Authority, lot number 5, to Washington Avenue. So,
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to authorize the Pittsburgh Classic Movie Club to hold their free to the public classic movie series in the park at Cook School Park during June through September 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
uh,
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to authorize the sale and disposition of surplus police cruiser number B3, that's a 2015 Ford Explorer, via electronic public auction on www.municipbid.com.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Move it.
Motion carries. Need a motion to accept and pay any commission due January 2023 real estate tax collector report.
So moved.
second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to acknowledge receipt of the January 2023 treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to accept all submitted January 2023 official reports.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. If you notice, that was a slight change. We've added all, it includes the police report and other, which we hadn't formally acknowledged as in the past. So, okay, committee reports. Administration, Nick?
The second time, we had an executive session prior to this meeting, discuss personnel matters and some political addressments. Other than that, thank you, Joe, for your hard work and everybody for last year's efforts. Nothing else to report.
Thank you, Nick. Finance, Joe?
I really don't have anything to add other than the audit is underway, and when is that normally done, Joe? March?
Probably within the month. It legally has to be done by April 1st.
Right.
So, and then I'm hoping that if that's the case, our April or May meeting, we can have a presentation again. I thought that was a nice.
I do too. That's all I have.
Thank you, Joe. Parks and Rec, Joe Klossman.
Okay, reservations for shelters, reservations on the parks for the upcoming year. Residents starts on March 1st and non-residents starts on March 15th. Playground reconstruct work up at McLaughlin and Cook School Parks should be completed by the summer. They haven't started yet, but it's ongoing. And once it gets rolling, it should get done pretty quickly, I would hope. The work down at Triangle Park's going to start on March 1st. Replacing the sidewalks and putting in some handicap accessible picnic table type things. And that's what we just discussed, movies in the park are coming back. If you live up by the park, you might enjoy going to the movies once in a while. But it was a very good program up there. And last but not least, I just want to thank everybody for the well wishes I got with my little incident I had over the holidays. And, it's good to be back. I hope they stay back for a while. And, take it from here too. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, good to have you, Joe. Glad you're doing better. Public Works, Nina.
The weather is wonderful. We saving money. I don't know for how long. Other than that, you got my report.
I thought I had time to get a glass of drink of water there. Usually a little longer. Public safety, Bruce.
The only thing I have is, Dale, I appreciate your consideration of the emergency situation. Just as before we started the meeting, I had a conversation with Joe Verducci, and I wanted to get with Mike in order to get some kind of heads up and stay aware, and you both know what we went through with the flooding before, so I appreciate that, and I think it makes us a little bit more aware that we are very vulnerable in all these situations. So, but that's something I have. I'd like to work in the future to try to put something together between all emergency departments, and just so we touch base and know what's going on. So, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. Mayor, Betty Copeland.
On February 2nd, I was very pleased to welcome to our police force Gabrielle Testo. I was happy to swear her in. And I'm grateful to our manager for seeing that a box is put in the borough side for those that have sneakers that you want to donate for the Interact Club at Chartiers Valley, and I'll be taking those. Their date is the 28th for the last day to turn them in. So I'm hoping if you have old sneakers, you'll still bring them here so that we want them to beat South Bay at Interact Club if possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Competitive over
Police Chief. Jack King.
Thank you, Council President. I provide you with the usual written report. Aside from that, the mayor touched on the hiring of Gabby Testa, and as of February 1st, Patrolman Dane Lower completed his year-long probationary Mower completed his year-long probationary period for a full-time officer as of February 1st. I see no reason,
Non-action renders it permanent.
Well, good for you guys.
that's it.
All right, thanks, chief. Solicitor, Tom,
Thanks. Likewise, I have nothing to add to my written report.
thank you. Borough Engineer Kevin Brett.
Nothing additional for February 6th report. I can answer any questions.
Any questions for the engineer? Okay, thank you. Fire chief, we've got Jim Olker here, right?
For the month of January, we responded to 46 incidents, 3 building fires, 30 medical assists, 1 motor vehicle accident, 1 gas leak of natural gas, 2 public service calls, 1 good intent call. We were canceled on 2 occasions after we dispatched. 3 odors of smoke, 1 carbon monoxide detector activation due to a malfunction, a smoke detector activation unintentionally, and 1 fire alarm system activation, which was unintentional, for a total of 46 calls. We did add 2 new members over the last week that are going to be getting enrolled in training at the Fire Academy. And I also want to put a plug in. We are back to having fish fries. We're going to have 3 fish fries this year, February 24th, March 24th, and April 7th. That runs 4 to 7 p.m. at the Chartiers Hall. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
We'll be efficient these first times.
Southbridge EMS, Daniel.
Report was submitted. If you did note, there was an association with Allegheny County Health Department that we hooked up with for the police department. We exchanged all their Narcan out with more ready-to-use format for Narcan, which is used for opioid overdoses and heroin. Unfortunately, it's becoming a big problem everywhere across the country. So. But we were able to get them the non-medical version, which is a little bit easier to use, and they have their own resource from the health department to backfill so they can keep it on their shelf here. The reason I bring it up in this forum is that the health department is also opening up invitations to clubs, fire departments, groups, churches, that if they wanted to have Narcan at their location, they'd be willing to, it takes a little bit of, education. It's not overwhelming, but it would be free of charge, the training and the Narcan. And like I said, if the church wanted it, they could go to this little training and then they give them, a stash of the Narcan.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Bridgeville Historical Society. You have anything for us, ma'am?
Our Sunday, February 26th program at 1:30 at Chartiers Room will be WW Bridgeville POWs, Abood, Calabro, and Shady, presented by Georgianne Abood Henson. President Wise hopes that you will come and that you can stop by the Historical Society. We have lots of new items for sale, shirts, caps. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody from the library? Parking authority.
No one here.
We have someone in the audience.
January 30th meeting, I was voted for the chairman of the Bridgeville Parking Authority. I'm going to ask council to be patient with us while I'm trying to use my words carefully, restructure things that have not been as they should have been. So it'll be a process, we're working on it, there'll be some changes. They do have bylaws, which they will be following. They need to be updated because they were from 1985, which is the year I moved into this borough. It's 38 years. So, don't even start that. But yeah, those bylaws need to be updated, but there's been some changes, and there will continue to be some changes. not promising, but I'm pretty sure you'll have a budget for this organization. We
Thank you,
meet
Deb.
on February 20th, that's our next meeting.
February 20th.
Please, okay.
Yeah, appreciate your service. Thank you.
Good job, Debbie.
I'm trying.
Regional Planning Commission.
Well, on the 23rd of January, we have a steering committee meeting in regards to the comprehensive plan. We discussed many things and came to the conclusion that we do have priorities, and they are traffic calming measures, wayfinding, signage, and north end traffic solution. In addition to those, we have other issues that we will be discussing. Most importantly right now is that on March 2nd at 5:30, it's a Thursday evening, we will be having our first ever focus group, and it will include the business leaders within Bridgeville. So what we're planning on doing is inviting the business leaders of Bridgeville to the focus group so we can discuss their issues, what we need to know as their businesses, and try to get them to grow Bridgeville. That will be at the American Legion at 5:30. In addition, we did have a annual reorganization, which pretty much stayed the same. I remain chair for 2023. Vice chair will be Mr. Tolmer, and the secretary will be Mr. Livingston. So that's pretty much the same as it is right now. The active transportation plan, we did do our start of our quarterly review, and there were several aspects of that review that were advanced, including the lights that we proposed to to the council this evening, and the bump outs, which were part of the active transportation plan, will move forward when they repave Beck Street. And we did talk about crosswalk improvements. Joe did give us some information about how to improve, what PennDOT will allow us to do to improve the crosswalks. And there's several things that we projected that we would move forward, one of which is for lack of a better word, the island on Main Street on Washington Avenue, which would go down by the Crafty Jackalope to slow down traffic, as well as give pedestrians a break, so that if they need to walk, they don't have to worry about walking across 2 lanes. And that's about it.
Justine, I'm sorry, what was the date? Did you say the 28th?
March 2nd. It's a Thursday.
Any other questions for Justine? Thank you. Busy, a lot of stuff coming together right now. Borough Manager, Joe Power.
Everyone has my written report, I kind of went over a lot already, so if there's any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you. Under new business, I want to make a motion to amend the agenda. Can I get a second on that? So moved.
Okay.
Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I'd also like to make a motion and authorize and take action on a personnel matter as memorialized in the execution session held on this date, or executive session. Excellent. There was no execution.
Could be my last.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm waiting.
That's not supposed to happen until after you do it.
I should have went like that. I'm good at that. But the motion's on the table.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Anything else under new business?
The Rotary is having their annual trivia night on April 1st. There's a total of 24 tables or teams. We're already up to 12. So if you're interested, it's a really good time. Please get your money in, and if you go to the Bridgeville South Fayette Rotary webpage, it has all the information there. Or just get in touch with me.
What's the date, Jim?
April 1st.
Is that the real date?
I've been waiting for that.
That's what I say.
Isn't that your birthday?
It's my birthday.
Yes, yes it is.
Do we have anything else under new business?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a
Second.
A second.